call to order the Town of Lake Lure Town Council regular meeting Tuesday, July 11th, 2023, at 5 p.m. Are there any edits to the agenda as posted?
I make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then the agenda stands approved as written. Thank you all for coming. We all made it through the 4th of July, and that was certainly a lot of fun for everybody. So we're glad everybody made it through that in the Highland Games. Just a couple of things I'd like to let you know that's going to be going on in the vein of what's going on fun in the town of Lake Lure. And we will start with the first one. So we are starting a new series called Community Awareness Forum, and we're going to be inviting different people to come and speak on whatever it is they do for the community. It may be philanthropic, it may be volunteer things that someone would like to join in on, just different things like that. We're very pleased. The first one is going to be Wednesday, July the 19th at 5 p.m. and it's here and it's open to the community, and it is going to be Aaron Ellenberg, the Sheriff, Rutherford County, and he's going to be here to talk with us about the incredible job that all of our police does in Rutherford County. And it'll be a good opportunity for you to get to know him, to ask questions. It's going to be an open forum, so I encourage all of you to come. And as we move throughout the year, we'll be having different ones just to kind of acquaint you with different things that go on in Lake Lure, but also in Rutherford County that you might be interested in. Sometimes you not have to be new here not to know about what's going on. So please come if you can. The next thing is we'll be hosting the 454 in Lake Lure on August 4th through the 6th. There are going to be over 300 cyclers and their family members in town for their annual mountain rides. We know everyone will give the cyclers a warm welcome as they enjoy the amazing scenery and exquisite beauty Lake Lure has to offer. I think it's going to be fantastic. They're going to be staying in Morse Park, or their family members may be staying somewhere else in town. I like to camp out, but only in the daytime. So if I were staying here, I'd be staying in one of the hotels. But anyway, I think it's going to be great, and they're such a great addition to what we do here, and just really, really nice people. So it gives everybody an opportunity to see us. So we invite you to come participate too. And then on August the 19th, the annual Lake Lure Olympiad sports event, and it's scheduled for, no, excuse me, I said that incorrectly. The 19th annual Lake Lure Olympiad sports events is August the 11th through the 13th. 2023. So that is always a great thing. If you haven't had an opportunity to go, you should go. It's really a lot of fun. All these things you can also find posted on our website, but we just like to remind you of them in case you are wondering what you might be doing for fun in July and August. So that is all I have to say. We will move on to the town manager's communications.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'll go through this briefly. For public services, the thing we want to point out this time was that we were pleased to be able to report that between May 20th and June 20th, the hydro plant made approximately $59,000. For community development, they issued 22 permits for the month of June as compared to 60 permits in May, and performed numerous follow-ups. And this includes 9 zoning, 2 lake structure, and 3 land disturbance permits. Moving on to fire and emergency management, the department responded to 46 fire, medical, and rescue calls throughout the month, and firefighters completed 430 hours of training. And for the police, they had 72 lake patrol hours. They also reported that the officers helped out with the 2023 Lake Lure of the Lake Swim event on June 10th at the beach. And the traffic was fine, and nothing to report there. And then moving on to Parks and Recreation, they had 766 volunteer hours for the maintenance of lots and lots of our trails. They also wanted to point out that the Bat Cave Baptist Church volunteers, they helped out and contributed their time to make improvements to the Morse Park picnic tables and the covered shelters and grills. They had 12 volunteers for 240 hours of that. For finance, the town continued to sustain its strong financial position with an unreconciled bank balance of approximately $9,859,891.86 in all funds other than the special revenue funds, and which holds the dam fund still holds a balance of $16.5 million. And then also we have accumulated interest of $236,058.69 and additional $27,000 in interest. Moving for communications, we had the completion of the boater safety video. We recognized a 20% increase in website users. That's 20,516 from June 2023 from last year at the same time at June 2022. For social media, we have 19,752 followers in Facebook as of June, which represents a 9% increase over the same time last year. And then I'll finish with manager, clerk, and admin. We were proud to be able to present the fiscal year budget on Wednesday for a public hearing on Wednesday, June 28th, at an advertised public hearing, and council approved the budget following the close of that public hearing. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. We got a lot done last month. Seems like I say that every month here, so that's a good thing, very good thing. All right, get back to where we see what we're doing next here. We'll go to the council liaison reports and comments. Commissioner Doster?
Yes, ma'am, thanks. Let's see, for ABC, just to note, the sales were up prior month, not uncommon in the summer months here in town. Also, ABC did go to planning and zoning for approval of a sign, an additional sign on their building, which was determined to be a governmental use building, so the sign was basically zoning and planning just said take it to the council, which we have on the agenda tonight in our consent agenda. The zoning and planning board did start reviewing our alcohol sales regulation, on-premise sales, specifically the categories that are referenced in our zoning ordinances to bars, taverns, nightclubs, and sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption. They're reviewing that. There'll be some more review next week at the meeting, and we'll see which direction we can move with that. That's all I have.
Thank you
That's it.
very much. All right. Commissioner Diorio.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Lake Advisory Board did meet yesterday, as a matter of fact. We've got the first draft of the fish study, and some good news there, some reaffirming news there, and I'll just go through the highlights just for information. So our habitat, as we all know every day, is very, very healthy. The water quality is very, very good. The bass population is excellent. As a matter of fact, it's so excellent that it's classified as being overcrowded. So a lot of fish. It's kind of interesting because a lot of fishermen have been talking to us about how they, we're good fishermen because we put the fish back. Well, that may not necessarily be good. But that actually plays out into policy for next year because we're looking at, for the LAB is looking at a framework for a special fishing permit to bring more fishermen back, which would be healthy for the ecosystem because we'll be able to pull out more. We know there's overcrowding because there's we actually measure how fat the fish are, and there's a scale, 85 to 100 being good. There are a lot of size fish that are under 85 in the 80 or 70 range, which means that they're pretty healthy, but they're not getting enough feed. The thing that's reaffirming for us is when we put in the threadfin shad, that is really sustaining the large population. So the folks that did the study highly recommend continuing that, maybe even increasing a little bit. It runs us about $4,000 or $5,000 a year to do that. Well worth the investment. It's keeping the population up. The other thing that's helping out, and this was years ago, Jim Maven, when you were mayor, that they started doing this, putting in Christmas trees and that cover. very, very healthy because we bring the lake down and up again, there isn't a whole lot of biological weeds and things that the bass like. They don't have, those weeds don't have a chance to take root because of the way we operate the lake. The next best thing are those trees and those artificial things we put in the lake making a big difference. We ought to continue that, and that's what the recommendation is. The third thing is a little nebulous, but we are seeing an impact. This study gets done the same time every year, about the middle of the bass spawning season. In 2018, the last time they did the study, there were a number of spawning fish that they saw, a number of new offspring that they could see. There was a noticeable lessening of the number of offspring this time, attributed it pretty much to our drawdown and bringing the lake back up again. The reason they bring that up is it does make a difference, and they recommend end of March is kind of where we've set the goalpost. That's a good place for to stop everything and bring the lake back up again. If we ever have to go into April, there would be a significant impact, and they're going to watch that. And they recommend that we do another study in 2 to 3 years in order to keep up, to find out what the impact is on raising the lower of the lake, what the impact is on the ecosystem. But the overall good news is healthy, lot of fish, big fish. All of us that fish on the lake, yeah, we know. So pretty good news. Pretty good news. Yeah, right. Right, exactly.
I've been asking all the fishermen in my family, my grandsons and sons, how come I never get anything? Y'all are bringing these pictures home that fish this big. Now have a reason. So the regulation changing for the fishermen, that'll take effect when?
Next year, next
year.
season.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, and it's going to afford the details for all of that, which brings me to my second point. The LAB is going to develop a package, codify it in the August meeting to deliver to us so that we can see it during our working group session in August in preparation for the September Marine Commission for a public hearing and an approval of the new regulations for next year. A lot of it is definitions and things that we've heard based on citations and things that we'll fix. But two policy things that we're looking at. One is the opening up because we did so well this year. By the way, the good news is, and if you're out on the water during the 4th of July, there was a noticeable difference in how civil, that's the best word to use, I think, how civil everyone was on the lake. The congestion was relieved significantly. People were really adhering to the regulations. Those boats that were non-permitted or people didn't bother to get it, you can't find those anymore. So there's a lot of positive impact that last year's lake use regulations had on the lake, and it was pretty tough to. And people had to go through wickets in order to help us with that. Next year, the LAB is looking at opening the aperture a little bit for fishermen for the reason I just stated, and secondly, building a new framework for non-motorized permits that I think everyone's going to like at the end of the day, because right now we kind of have people that get permits and there's a whole bunch of people that don't, and we're going to fix all that, come up with a great framework to have more people able to enjoy the lake in a non-motorized vessel than ever before. And I think that's what the folks around Rutherford County and the folks that come here to Lake Lure, they want it to be kind of like a state park, right? Where they can kayak and canoe in the morning, go hiking in the afternoon, and we're going to push that one step further, and we'll see that data at the end of the month.
Perfect. The fishermen are going to be
Yeah,
thrilled,
that'd be good.
right?
Yep.
Madam Mayor, I was not at the Park and Rec meeting last week because I was out of town, but I would like to reiterate something Manager Perkins said. When you add the volunteer hours of trail maintenance with the volunteer hours of improvements to Morris Park, it's over 1,000 hours of volunteer work last year for Park and Rec, and I just think that's a phenomenal
That
number.
is phenomenal.
That's all I have.
Thank you so much. That is all then of our council liaison reports, and we appreciate, once again, I know I say it every month, but we do appreciate so much all the hours and the interest and the efforts that everybody puts in as members of the board. I appreciate all the staff hours time, because it's a lot of their time too. and the council liaisons too. So it just makes our community part of what we do here. We really appreciate that. We will then move on to the public comment section, and I do have 3 people who have signed up for it. If there is anyone else who did not have an opportunity to sign up, you certainly may, after these 3 people have made their comments, you may come forward. Everybody enjoys 3 minutes. You'll come up to the rostrum and state your name and your address when you begin. We will begin with Debbie Warren.
Debbie Warren, 138 Yacht Island Drive, Lake Lure, North Carolina, 28746.
Thank you.
There you go. I just want to say again, the Lure of the Lake swim on June 10th was great. We had 103 swimmers. We had a lot of families enjoy being on the beach. Sonia and George and Hope and everybody that was there just really did a great job. Police and fire, we couldn't have done it without them. Love the Zodiacs. They really help with those swimmers. And I wanted to put a shout out, LakeLureOlympiad.org. 30 days from today, we run 10K from Ingalls to Rumbling Bald. And all the volunteers, we have a sprint try on Saturday. And back again this year is a 5K, 3.1 miles. We're going to start at the Best View Motel, and we're going to run straight up Chimney Rock Mountain. So we're excited about all of that. We've got some good pre-registration, and if you're interested in volunteering, just send us a message, LakeLureOlympiad.org, and we'll be back in touch with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And if I may just add something, there are so many great things have been going on here, and we have so many things planned for the summer. It is an incredible job that our police department and our fire department has done, making sure that all those things are safe for everyone who is here and everyone who's enjoying them. So once again, just thank you for keeping us all safe. We appreciate you. Next, David Beal.
Try to keep it 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Good evening. I don't want to throw any shade on all the good news.
Oh, okay.
Certainly that's been discussed here and that Debbie just shared. As most people know around the county here, Spectrum has been running their underground fiber optics. And I watched it on 64 and didn't pay a lot of attention to it, didn't know where it was going, didn't know what the scope of the work was until last week, on Monday, when I had a crew sitting in front of my house laying out plans to dig holes up my private drive. I'm sorry, Dave Beal, 169. Did I say 169 South Point?
No,
South
that's-
Point, I'm sorry,
that's all right.
169 South Point Drive. South Point is a private drive. I take great care in maintaining that and keeping it clean. There's myself and one other permanent or year-round resident. But I've taken up cleaning it up and keeping it trimmed and all that and making it look nice. So I really consider that to be my driveway. When the work began, and I talked to the supervisor and he was explaining what would happen, I tried to understand exactly what it was. I was very, very concerned at holes in my front yard because we have a lot of flowers my wife's planted. And so they showed up, I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday, and started digging holes, and they had things everywhere. My wife was pretty upset, started making phone calls to council members. And she did get hold of Scott Doster, got back with her, kind of calmed her down, thank you very much. And we understand that the work was not sanctioned or planned by the town of Lake Lure, and that this was going to have its right of way, and I understand all of that. But what we were concerned with is the shape that they would leave the street when they left. I literally spent 3 hours yesterday cleaning red mud off of in front of my house and the lot that I own next door to my house, because I try to take pride in the street. So I know that nothing could be done, except there was no heads up that I was aware of. I don't look at a lot of news, but I had no idea that they would be coming onto a private drive without even explaining to the residents. Again, this is a Spectrum issue, not a town of Lake Lure issue. Simply saying, I don't know if there's any way that the word could get out to the next person that's not expecting crews. They were respectful, I will say that. Anything that I asked, they tried to accommodate. So I'll give Spectrum some credit for that. But I just, again, I wanted to just take an opportunity to say thank you to Scott. He texted my wife, he called her, I spoke to Scott today, and he just was very good at responding, especially, he was on, I believe he was on vacation when he responded. I mean, he could have said, sorry, I'll take care of it when I get back, but he didn't. So that speaks, my wife wanted to make sure that I said, on behalf of her and myself, thank you very
And
much.
thank you for bringing that to our attention, because they certainly, it is a right of way, but they certainly should leave it in the same
Yeah.
state in which they found it.
Okay, so that
thank
and any road damage on the equipment, so it's just troubling that you can't even get prepared for it.
I agree, I agree.
Thank you very much for,
Thank you, and we
Thank you.
appreciate Scott
Did
Doster too.
did Spectrum give us a plan for what they're doing?
No, sir.
Yeah, I didn't think, I was gonna ask you that after I talked to them, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I'll wait till I get here, and I know of nothing.
Well, I think we've got it, I mean, it's a big task.
Yeah.
But we could institute our own encroachment agreements on our own public streets. But right now, I'm not aware that we have a process for encroachment agreements.
Dean, have you heard anything from those guys reaching out at all?
Yeah, I don't-
No, sir, we were actually doing the locates, how we found out that we were doing the locates right in front of where they were digging. We didn't have any notification of the whole process.
So they should at least give us a heads up on where they're gonna be. That
Yeah.
would not be asking too much, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
Is that,
yeah, we may want to
Can we
reach
look-
out to them.
look into that? I mean,
Yeah.
how could we?
Yeah, wait, I can make some inquiries.
I mean,
Yeah.
at
And
least,
it should look the same
Okay.
when they.
yeah.
Thank you.
The thing that really amazes me about this one, and I went up there too, I saw the holes that were up there, talked to the supervisor, and of course, he assured me, just like he did you, he's gonna put it back the way he found it. But what really amazed me about that whole project is, they have a right of way, it's a private road, but no one signed up. So they're putting which is not cheap, they're putting an underground fiber optic cable in a road that no one has really signed up for. I wish I could get that deal, so I just found it fascinating of what's going on with Spectrum over there, so it's worth a phone call, I think.
I
They're
agree.
doing it their own peril.
Yeah.
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 A
Yeah.
private road may or may not have a carte blanche utility
Right.
easement
True.
involved with
That's
the
right.
road.
That's right.
It's
Yep.
fascinating.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much. Steve Melito.
Steve Molito, 1412 Proctor Lane, Proctor Road, sorry. Anyway, what brings me here today is I do my civic duty. I look over the agendas and the minutes of the meetings. And I saw that on today's consent agenda, there is, for consideration, approval of a 10-year contract. And it made me scratch my head because I've tried to get 10-year contracts many times, and generally, they're pretty hard to get. So it made me ponder exactly what our town's policies and procedures are when they engage in these long-term contracts to make sure that the citizens of the town are getting their value. Because the whole purpose of having a limited term on a contract is it allows you to renegotiate the contract at regular intervals to assure that you're getting fair market value for the services that you're signing the agreement for. And so I was just pondering that I didn't understand exactly how these decisions came up and popped up so quickly. Do we have a mechanism for, generally you would get multiple bids on a contract of this size. It's not an insignificant contract. You can back calculate from the budget. It's a reasonable amount of cash flow. I think the citizens deserve to know that this revenue stream is for the best interest of our community. So usually you would get bids or some other process to determine fair market value. Normally on contracts of these size, you have conflicts of interest statements from all participants in making the decisions. I see none of that. And so I was just curious exactly how we do this. And that's all I have to say. And
In record time.
in record time.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
We appreciate your comments. That's the last person who signed up. Is there anyone else who didn't have an opportunity to sign up who would like to make a comment? then. We thank you all very much, and we do appreciate your comments. We'll move on then to the next section, which is the consent agenda. Are there any changes? Haven't had an opportunity to review the consent agenda before we vote?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, we approve the consent agenda with one addition, and that is item B on the concession agreement we were just talking about, actually. On section 33, I would like to add the third sentence, Lake Lure Tours shall pay the town 5% of monthly gross receipts of retail marine fuel sales at the marina.
Yeah, and one more thing, there may be a typo at the top. The first line may say June, that needs to reflect July, that's a typo.
Correct.
July, okay. Are there any other changes?
With Commissioner Bruckner's adjustment, I'll second the motion that we approve the consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then the consent agenda stands approved as amended. The next item is unfinished business, and that is Lake Lure Flowering Bridge parking lot request. And Mr. Perkins,
Yes, let me see as I flip back to this material now. Without looking at it right now for this, the Lake Lure Flowering Bridge, the materials are in your agenda packet this evening. They came back into us earlier in the year, and they've got a visitor parking lot that they are constructing for the purposes, a volunteer parking lot. And at that time, they made a request for the town to assist. They've submitted their cost estimates for it for the town of Lake Lure to consider a contribution or assisting with that project in an amount of $8,000. I believe it was in March 22nd that the council discussed that. They tabled that conversation until such time all permits had been successfully approved for the visitor parking. It's on your agenda this evening because that permitting has been approved for the parking lot for it. So I think that was the requisite for the continued consideration of the amount.
Yeah, so I'd like to, on that, and thank you for doing all that, crossing the Ts and dotting the Is. And you got a permit, I think we're good to go, that was the last step. I move that we approve the Lake Lure Flowering Bridge parking lot request as posted in the agenda.
Now, I will point one thing, since we were not aware of how the council felt on this right now. We will need to approve a budget amendment, and that'll
Okay.
be in August meeting. So what we'll do is take the approval of the contribution of the money. We'll have finance approve the budget amendment. That budget amendment will be done in August regular meeting. That will be allowing us to write the check.
But we still have to approve the
we do.
request.
The
So I-
budget amendment, yes.
We'll have to prove that, we prove this.
We have to
and
prove
then
this
the
and
budget.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So let's go
Yeah.
ahead and finish this
Right.
one first.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'll
do we hear a
second Dave's, I'll
Okay,
second Dave's.
Good.
Gotcha.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then the Lake Lure Flowering Bridge parking lot request is approved.
We'll
And
have the
check-
budget.
The check's in the mail,
We'll have the
Kathy.
budget amendment. We'll have the budget amendment ready for approval in August regular meeting.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then we will move on to new business, and the first item, a resolution number 23-07-11B approving Labella Task 18 geodesic dome tank cover. Mr. Dadula. I just arbitrarily.
I'll keep this quick. So this is for Dean Lindsay's group. This is to get an engineering study and scope of work to either look at replacing the cover on the old 20,000 gallon tank? Yep, up in the Washburn property. And the second option is they're gonna look at maybe possibly eliminating the tank and just pumping from the lower tank. So.
All right, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 230711 Bravo, approving Labella task order. Is this the task order or are we approving the dome?
The dome,
No,
they're
it's
they're
the-
separated.
Oh, they're separate? Hang on,
It's the
I'm
task
sorry.
order for doing the study for this.
All right, so we need to,
Yes, one.
A is,
It's just in relation to, not the actual replacement of.
okay, so I'm doing new business alpha. I'm doing the right one.
Yeah.
I move that we adopt resolution 230711 Bravo approving Labella Task 18 geodesic dome tank cover.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And resolution number 23-07-11B, approving Labella Task 18 geodesic dome tank cover is approved unanimously. We'll move on then to the budget amendment
Yep.
number 351 for Labella Task 18 geodesic dome tank cover.
And with that, Madam Mayor, I move that we approve budget amendment number 351 for Labella Task 18 geodesic dome tank cover.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then budget amendment number 351 for Labella Task 18 geodesic dome tank cover is approved unanimously. The last item is Public Services Supervisor position description. Is that you, Hank?
Yes, ma'am. This is a very minor, we just wanted to add it to the agenda. We've got a vacancy in this position. Our Public Services Director, Mr. Lindsay, wanted to make a minor change to it. That minor change is that you're gonna see it's highlighted to add, will provide assistance in hydroelectric operation, water and sewer operations on daily, as needed in emergency events. We also included, that we needed to have a valid North Carolina driver's license as a requirement for the job. So that's it.
All right, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Public Services Supervisor position description with the updates enclosed in the packet.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then Public Services Supervisor position description is approved unanimously. We will now be going into closed session, and there will not be anything else on the agenda after that. So I don't want you waiting here with bated breath for us to return. But you certainly can enjoy the refreshments, as always. We'll retire. Do we hear a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to go into closed session in accordance with General Statutes 143-318.11 Alpha 6 for the purpose of discussing personnel matters, and I would like to do that in about 5 minutes instead of immediately.
Right, we are going to take a 5-minute break, yes.
I'll
Do I hear a
second.
I'll second that.
that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then we will retire to closed session after 5 minutes of enjoying Laura's wonderful refreshments. You're
Got it.
welcome.
When what's the timeline for,
It's
not only the
cost of
parking
living.
lot, but the center too? What are we looking